and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 349. Woo! As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Hello! I was ready for your awkward hello this time. You've not taken me unawares.
I would hope so after 300 some odd fucking episodes. Jeez, man.
We do have housekeeping.
We do.
I do want to remind everybody, for any new listeners, we do put the timestamp for when the topic starts in the show notes.
Yes. So if you don't want to hear us just bullshit for a little bit, you can just jump to that.
Yes, because we know by metrics that new listeners do not like listening to us bullshit. And I don't blame you. You don't know us. You know, what do you want to listen? What do you want to listen to me talk for?
Exactly.
I don't know. But then after
you barely want to hear us talk. You barely want to hear us talk about the actual topic.
It's ridiculous. Really, is what it is. Also, our producer guy is going to be here for the after party after the party, which is when the end credits happen.
Yeah.
So
that's implying the rest of the show is a party.
Yeah, this is the party, and then he's just there to mop up the. I was gonna say mop up the pieces, but you don't really mop up pieces of things. This doesn't make sense.
No. But, depends on what they are pieces of, I guess.
My week, I've been playing this game called Wobble Dogs,
which I totally read as Wobble Dongs.
Wobble Dongs.
When I saw it on your Discord status.
My daughter wanted it, so we bought it, and it's this very weird, like, neon pastel colored pet simulator.
Okay.
You know that one robot dog design that has like the kind of bent legs and it's sort of always wobbly when it walks around?
Like the Boston Dynamics one?
Yeah. Imagine that thing, except its body is just a pink rectangle and it has a little X for a butthole on the back of it, and it has those same legs and then just a regular dog head, but it's blue, stuck on the front of the box.
Sweet.
And all the terrifyingness that implies. It's they walk, they can't really walk. They just kind of wobble around on these weird bendy legs they have.
Thus the name.
Thus the names. And so basically you just take care of these animals. You can hatch eggs, which produce new wobble dogs.
Okay.
And then after a while, the wobble dogs will mutate, which means they go into a cocoon and they string themselves up by the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And then they pop out and they mutate based on their gut flora.
So,
what?
Okay. Hold on. So the dogs hatch from eggs.
Yeah.
And then they go into a cocoon and metamorphize.
Yeah, they pupate.
So are they insects? Are they insect dogs?
They're wobble dogs.
Right. And are wobble dogs insects is what I'm asking.
What I do know is that they're wobble dogs. So beyond that, I have no idea. But here's what's cool about it. It's kind of like a Chow Garden type thing where you, as you do stuff like, oh, you picked up 10 poops. Oh, one of your dogs ate dirt. You get little achievements and they unlock new things. Mm-hmm. And you unlock these food dispensers. And whatever your wobble dog eats adds to its gut flora. And all the bacteria in their gut flora will combine so that when they mutate and they go into the little cocoon, it changes their attributes slightly. So like if you eat a bunch of nutritional pellets, they increase gut flora that causes the yellow color. So if you have a lot of that gut flora, when you go to mutate, well, you'll come out with some portion of you probably either yellow or more yellow than it was before.
Now I have more questions.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Because when I eat nutritional things, I don't turn yellow. I'm just throwing that out there.
You could turn into all sorts of different colors.
Because if you turn yellow, that might be jaundice.
It's jaundice, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So my wobble dogs might be jaundiced. They've also got like a Sims style thing at the bottom where they've got like their sleep and their hunger and their playfulness.
So they got to pee.
And yeah, and stuff like that. But you can just totally ignore it.
Oh, good.
And they can't get hurt. So it's perfect for my daughter because she's not here to take care of them. She just wants to breed as many as she can and just have this horrible like
wobble dog army.
Yeah, this like wobble dog puppy mill of just like 50 dogs eating their own shit and flopping all over each other.
Nice.
And they live for about a half an hour, and then then it dies. And when it dies, all the other wobble dogs let out a howl in unison. And then you can have them eat its remains, and a little essence pops out that you can feed to a different wobble dog to make them live longer. It's a Highlander type situation.
That part reminds me of Cubivore.
It's like Cubivore mixed with a Chow Garden is what it feels like. But there's no real objective, because Cubivore very much is like an objective based game. And
Let
so
me ask this though.
Yes.
This is the important part. So when the dogs in the game howl, is it authentic enough that it caused your dogs to howl?
My dogs didn't howl, but it's authentic enough that you feel sad for them that one of their little dog friends just died. But you keep them in these big hamster habitats, and eventually you unlock new habitats that you can connect via hamster tunnels.
Nice.
But the hamster tunnels have vacuum suction.
Oh no.
So whenever a wobble dog goes to the next habitat, it gets close to it, and then it like black hole sucks it in, and at the speed of sound rockets it out the other side, and it bounces into the wall and knocks all the wobble dogs over, and it's just ridiculous. So she's got like 4 habitats that we've connected in this giant vacuum circle where they keep getting stuck in the vacuum pole. So a wobble dog will go in one tunnel and it'll shoot so hard into the next room that it just perpetually creates this like suction feedback loop where a dog will spin around like 5 times and then rocket out like at the speed of light into a wall. And she thinks it's the greatest thing ever. And so I've started playing it because it's just fun and dumb.
Yeah, right.
I also started Trails in the Sky because
I've heard of that one.
Apparently I don't like free time. Yeah. It's funny. I was playing it and I was like, some of this seems familiar. And I was like, oh yeah, we did a whole episode on this and I was there. And then I was like, well, I hope I didn't have any of the story stuff spoiled for me. And then I went, I literally remember none of it.
Oh, good.
So that's good. Yeah. I have no grand ambitions about it. I just kind of started it because it was cheap. It was on sale, and I'm playing Final Fantasy VI right now. And it's been kind of fun. Yeah. It's been fun playing a Super Nintendo RPG. You know what is effectively one, and then playing at the same time a PS1 RPG and getting to appreciate. Well, I guess Trails was a PS2 RPG, wasn't it?
It was PC, but it was during the PS2 era.
Right, but it still very much, at least to me, feels very PS1 JRPG. Just tonally in the way it looks and the way it kind of plays out. Right. It's making me appreciate a lot more of the design decisions in Trails. Yeah. Coming from Final Fantasy VI, which is still, don't get me wrong, fantastic game. Absolutely. But it's making me appreciate how things are bigger and grander and take longer and are more in depth rather than be annoyed by them. Also, I've been trying to pick away at Spelunky 2, which is still just, man, what a hard game. Oh, yeah. It's so much harder than the first one. But
I was using Cheat Engine to give myself infinite life, and I still just kept dying.
I've learned a lot of things. First of all, I've learned that the turkeys are vital to your success. Yeah. You need to be on a turkey all of the time. And if you're on a turkey holding a dog, you can effectively sustain 2 hits before you take any damage.
I can't do it. Every time the dog gets hurt, I just feel bad, and I give up.
Oh, well, change it to an animal you don't like. You can change it in the options menu.
Yeah, I have it on rotate, and I still feel bad no matter which animal it is. I think they're all adorable.
I get over it. My daughter is very attached to the dog when she walks through the room. So if she's nearby, I cannot let the dog get hurt under any circumstances. And when the dog dies, his corpse stays in the thing and you can still pick it up. So there's been times where the dog has been dead and she's been like, oh, what's wrong with him? And I'm like, he's fine. And I've been just carried
he's asleep.
Then I've carried his corpse to the end of the level. So yeah, it's so good.
Somebody,
it's really good, but it's hard.
Etsy made a plush of the dog.
Perfect.
So
it's beautiful.
It's great.
But that's about it. Lots and lots of games and wobble dogs and JRPGs and it's I've been playing a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff going on.
I have no idea how you play that many things at the same time without.
Oh, it's easy.
Keeping track of any of them.
Oh, I don't got to keep track of them. I just sit down and go, what do I feel like? And I turn to Spelunky 2 and Wobble Dogs. I have to keep track of nothing. So that helps. Fair. There's nothing to keep track of. And Trails, I do kind of got to keep track of because, man, it is like immediately very complex and hard.
Oh, yeah, they throw a lot at you pretty quick.
Right out of the gate, there's like, all right, here's the 17 interlocking systems. Also, you're going to feel dramatically underleveled for basically everything that's happening. And I'm like, okay.
And the best part is, so it's giving you all those systems, and that's it. That's the rest of the game. It's not going to introduce new systems to you later.
I like that, though.
And then as soon as you get to the next game in the series, it's like, hey, you remember all those systems? We made them more complex. So here's those same systems again, but enhanced.
I like that because I do get annoyed with RPGs when I like the systems, then halfway through they throw some wrench into it to shake it up, and you're like, oh, but I don't like that change, and I've already invested 20 hours, and now I'm just going to quit.
Or worse, when they just drop systems, or they introduce a new system that you really like, but it's an hour from the end of the game.
Yeah, or it replaces an old system that you put all this time into.
More, yeah.
Yeah.
So I finally got the email from Sony saying that I was chosen to purchase a PlayStation 5.
Oh my God, Sony is allowing you to purchase a PlayStation?
I know, I was so honored. So they send you a link.
Did they give you an NFT as proof, or
no? There's no proof. You they don't want you to be able to prove it to someone.
Right.
So they send you an email with a link, and they say, okay, the orders will be available in this window. It's a 5-hour window, and if you click the link before those 5 hours, you may be locked out for a period of time. So do not click this link until the pre-order window or the order window starts.
Right.
And so I click the link as soon as it starts, and it gives me a redirect error because their server's overloaded.
Yes.
And I tried that.
Now hold on a second.
Yeah.
Doesn't this whole system imply that Sony knows how many people are going to be clicking the link at that time?
Correct.
Like, they know how many people are going to actually be there. Why would they not prepare their servers for at least that exact amount?
Because Sony. So,
God damn it.
So I click it, and it's a redirect error. And it says at the end of the redirect error, try again. So I try again, and redirect error, and redirect error. And sometimes it would take like 6-7 minutes to give me the redirect error, and sometimes it was instant. But I kept getting the redirect error for 4 hours and 25 minutes.
I like that you kept with it, because Saturn,
I was doing other things at the time.
It was gone in a minute.
No, it wasn't. It was still in stock.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because there was only so many. So I'm clicking it and clicking it and clicking it, and I'm playing a game, and I'm working for most of it actually. And then finally it comes up with a screen that says, "You're in the queue. You have more than 1 hour to wait." And I'm like, oh, 4.5 hours later almost, I'm finally in the queue. And then I go back to the store page in another window just to look at it, and now it's sold out.
Ah, there you go.
And like 10-15 minutes after that, it updated that page to say, "Update, we are now sold out. Thank you for participating." And I'm like, what the fuck did I participate in? Because I don't think I was allowed to participate at all.
You know what gets me is...
everything got me.
If anyone should be able to track down and buy a PS5, it's you. If you can't get one, what the fuck are we doing? You know what I mean?
I'm so frustrated by the whole thing, and it makes me think. And what's frustrating is there are games that I want to play that have already been announced to be exclusive to the PS5.
Right.
And it makes me not want to buy a PS5 jumping through all these hoops. And it makes me want to not play those games anymore, which is, I feel bad for those developers that they got roped into making an exclusive game on a system that doesn't exist.
It's kind of making me wonder if developers are possibly trying to renegotiate for shorter exclusivity windows to get PC releases out the door or something. Because, I mean, if I were in the shoes of those developers, I'd be like, hey, man, I see that it's selling really well, but, I don't know. Maybe they won't even notice, because, I mean, developers have them. And everything keeps coming out talking about how well it's selling. So, like, from a market perspective, it seems like a lot of people have them, but who are these people?
Right?
Where are these people?
Yeah, it's a frustrating endeavor to attempt to buy one. And I think I'm done trying for a little bit.
Yeah.
Possibly until the price drops on it, which I don't think will actually happen at this point.
Why would it?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just going to put it off until I absolutely don't have to.
Well, you have a PS2 and a PS3.
Correct.
Could you trade those in for PS5? Because 3 and 2, 5, right?
Oh, well, I've got 2 PS1s and a PS3. What about that?
Okay, that worked too. I mean, I don't know the exchange rate, all right, but numerically it adds up.
What about my PS2 and my PS4 and get a PS6? Be ahead of the curve.
We got to send it to him. I don't know. The PS6 is just going to be a Linksys router. It's going to be really big, like that South Park episode. Let's do the news.
Yeah.
First up, an update to the Nintendo Switch Online mobile app will now tell you which of your friends are online.
Oh,
It's
like the future.
fucking future. I've been following a lot of Steam Deck coverage.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting one and I'm excited.
Right.
And just seeing the social features, you can open your Steam friends list, click on someone's name, start a voice chat with them, hang out. You can minimize, open Discord on it, chat in Discord, play a game. It's ridiculous to me that in 2022, that's like an insanely expansive set of social features compared to massive consumer electronics that have existed on the market for years. Right. I'm like, why? Fucking why? It's inexcusable. And I know that people are like, yeah, but Nintendo just doesn't understand. But they fucking do. They exist on planet Earth. They're here. They're on the same globe as us.
They can hire people who do understand that. I mean, they hire people all the time. So it's not like they can't recruit an internet specialist.
I don't even want much. I just want, like, let me click on someone's name and fucking voice chat them.
And while we're at it, can they also please hire a UI specialist to update the Switch's UI just a little? Just anything.
Not even that. Just add fucking folders. I have so many fucking games.
Seriously.
And they're everywhere. Do you even get to pick the order they're in, or do you just pick last played or alphabetical?
I think that's the only two options.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Take-Two is facing a class action lawsuit over loot boxes in their sports ball games. I can't believe it. The gambling that they're selling to the children, people are upset about this?
Who knew?
Are children not allowed to gamble?
It's bizarre. I'm shocked that it's even going forward. And I'm worried that it's just going to get thrown out. So
yeah. Also, the PlayStation 5 and Series X updates of GTA 5 won't be free to existing owners, and GTA Online for PS5 won't have crossplay with PS4 servers.
Yeah, also, they are making GTA Online for the new consoles free for a limited time, and you can only get the free version from redeeming it from the new console. If you try to redeem it on the old console, it doesn't work.
I feel like the farther we get into this generation, the more that I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just going to play games on PC. Like, I'm just... And my Steam Deck's gonna let me. Glover! I'm so excited. Glover is being ported to PC from its original N64 source code. It's like the 9th best N64 game.
However, also it was on PS1. However, the company that is doing this is a pretty well-known IP troll. They keep buying up old IPs just to sue YouTube channels for posting footage of that. So I'm not so sure I want to support them in any way. But at least they are reporting this.
That's something. I'm excited. Glover was fun. Sony's State of Play happened. First up, there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collection, which is like some insane number of games. It's like all of the Ninja Turtles games, including Turtles in Time. Yeah,
all the NES games, all the Genesis, Super
Game Boy
NES,
games
Game
are
Boy,
there,
and the 2 arcade games.
Oh man, it's a fantastic collection. I'm very excited. My daughter's very excited. We're also both very excited for the new Ninja Turtles. What is it? The Fall of the? No, that's the GBA one. The new one. The new
Shredder's
Brawler.
Revenge.
It's Shredder's Revenge. That's it. Very excited. All of it very exciting. I like those games. New Valkyrie Profile spinoff. It's been a lot of years.
Yeah, since PS2 was the last time we saw a new Valkyrie Profile game. So I'm stoked about that. It does look like it's more of an action RPG spinoff, which even the original is action battle system. So it's not too much of a spinoff, but I don't know who the company that is developing it is somebody I have very little experience with, and it doesn't look like they've made anything great yet. So I'm hoping that maybe they have the budget now to do something. We'll see.
I've not played any of the Valkyrie games.
They're pretty fun.
And I've heard that they're okay.
Yeah, I enjoy them. The first one used to be like lauded as like this hidden treasure of the PS1 that no one played. I remember that, which is true. No one did play it, but it is a very good game. And I recommend that one. The second one,
Well, maybe the spinoff will at least give us like a new collection or re-release or something if it does well enough. It'll be good.
And the first one was remade for mobile, and it's playable on an Android TV. So
wasn't
if you
it
want
on
to play
PSP? Which one was on PSP?
It was the first one. It was a remake of the first one.
Yeah.
And the mobile one is based on the PSP one. So.
Yeah. Total sales of all Xbox models, all of them.
Yeah.
Of all time in
all
Japan has reached 2.3 million units.
Oh, man.
Which
is finally there.
An embarrassing number. I mean, straight up embarrassment.
And most of those are Xbox 360s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot. Not a lot. There was a noticeable amount of good Japanese-centric releases on 360.
Yeah.
I would say.
Exclusives as well. There was a reasonable amount.
Yeah.
And I think it was last episode we had seen the story that was about how the Series X and S have already outsold the Xbox One in Japan, which I presume means it sold like 19 units now.
Yeah. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Atari has purchased Moby Games, much to the chagrin of basically anyone that works anywhere near the games press.
Oh, well, no, they said that they were totally going to preserve its integrity.
Right. They also said that VCS wasn't going to be a hunk of shit, and they fucking lied about that, didn't they? So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe, you know what? I tell you what, when their cryptocurrency and their casino get off the ground, maybe I won't be worried about Atari. Crix, the EverDrive person.
Yes.
The creator and maker of EverDrive,
right.
Has left Ukraine and reached safety. So
very good news there.
Good for them. Very exciting. Advance Wars Reboot Camp has been delayed indefinitely due to depictions of war and the ongoing situation in Ukraine.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that sucks. If I'm being really honest, when they said that, I was like, oh, thank God. I have so much to play right now. I had no time for it.
You know, it makes me a little sad because this feels like Advance Wars is cursed.
Yeah.
Because it had a bad release window the first time, too. If you remember, the original Advance Wars came out in the U.S., I want to say, on September 10th of 2001. And
what?
And then the international release of it was delayed for reasons.
Jesus Christ.
So Japan never got the first Advance Wars until it came out in a collection years ago.
I did not know that, but knowing that makes it make a little more sense, because there was a little bit of backlash to this. People were like, hey, it's cartoon depictions of war, and the next Call of Duty is for sure going to be on track. So, you know. But I guess given that track record, I could see it. I could see it a little more, you know.
Yeah. It was, I'm looking it up. It was September 10th, 2001 in the U.S., late 2001 in Australia, January of 2002 in Europe, and not until the 2-pack in 2004 in Japan.
Holy shit, what a bad release day.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Finally, Square Enix released a bunch of soundtracks on streaming services, unlike Nintendo.
Yeah.
Who continues to issue takedown notices.
Yeah, thanks, Nintendo.
Because fuck us, right? We just want to celebrate the things you make, you fucking dicks.
How dare you? How dare you do so in a non-authorized manner?
There you go. And that brings us to the topic at hand, which is Infernax, which I almost just said I almost said the topic at hand title, because we just left the word title in there instead of from our template.
Yeah.
Which is it's kind of like Castlevania 2, but it's new.
Yeah.
This game was developed by Berserk Studio.
Yeah.
Published by the Arcade Crew. Berserk Studio mostly did like Flash games and stuff before this, as far as I can tell.
They also did Just Shapes and Beats. Which was,
I remember that one.
Very well acclaimed.
Arcade Crew is a publisher that has published a decent amount of indie games you may or may not notice from Steam's front page.
Right.
And it came out on February 14th, 2022 on Steam, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation 4. So it is not retro.
No.
It is what we call faux retro.
Right.
And this is the game you were talking about a few weeks ago.
True.
And you were playing the crap out of it, so I downloaded it on Game Pass and fucking hated it. And then I went back and tried it the game again, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So here we are doing an episode on it.
I had played it because someone else in our Discord had mentioned they were playing it, And when they first said it, I was just like, whatever, another indie game. I'm glad they're enjoying it.
Another Metroidvania, whatever.
Right. I don't need that in my life right now. And then they said, it's like Castlevania 2. And I was like, oh, I'm down for that.
We had a long discussion in the Discord about, because this has all of the trappings on paper of an, in air quotes, a Metroidvania, a search action game.
Yes.
But it definitely does not feel like one.
No, not at all.
The only thing we could figure out was that in a search action game, you are in the dungeon, the castle, the planet, the whatever, the whole time. And there are effectively no real safe zones or town zones.
Well, sometimes there are towns, but they are just incorporated into the larger map. And it's not, there's not like subzones of the map. And if there are, it's pretty rare, maybe a boss area or something.
And the only thing that we could figure out that really made the discernible gameplay difference to make this feel like a Castlevania 2-like and not a Metroidvania is that it has basically a world with multiple towns and subzones, and you go into the dungeon and it's a separate zone.
Yeah.
And I have no grand point to make about it, except that after I played this game, I wanted more, and you can't even figure out what to fucking call it.
No, I don't know what genre it would be or what to look for.
It's Zelda 2, Battle of Olympus, Faxanadu, Castlevania 2. It's all that same 2D action RPG. I don't even know. I don't even know what to call it.
The 8-bit action, more action than RPG kind of game.
Yeah, it frustrates me that stuff like Metroidvania has its own genre designation, but this doesn't. This needs one. There's enough of them.
I feel like we as an industry, the industry has done a poor job of defining genres and gameplay styles.
Oh yeah,
in general, because for years they just referred to things as action. Like, what kind of game is that? It's an action game.
Right.
What kind of action happens? Action.
I mean, really, like, I don't know. Games are interesting because I was thinking a lot about it because really what you want to know is what kind of systems are in the game.
Right.
You know, because interacting with systems is how you interact with a piece of software. And it's just hard to, even when a genre is very properly descriptive of a game, it doesn't really tell you much about the systems you're going to encounter all of the time. You know, like Pokemon is on paper a JRPG.
Correct.
But I wouldn't, if someone was like, oh, I really fucking love .hack, what should I play Pokemon now? I'd be like,
apparently, yeah. That's the progression.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, duh. You know, so it's one of those things where it's like, even when they are appropriate, they're just not very descriptive because of the systems in the games and how you interact with it. And
I was talking to a friend of mine this week, and she was asking for recommendations for Switch games. She was looking through my Switch games to see if she could borrow some stuff, and I'm pointing out a game to her, and she's like, "Oh, what's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a horror game." And she's like, "Right, but what kind of game is it?" And I was like, "Oh, shit, I guess that doesn't really describe the game at all."
At all, right?
So, yeah.
I mean, horror game could be Clock Tower or Resident Evil 4. Like, what?
Right.
Big difference.
Surprisingly, it was Doki Doki Literature Club, so it was a visual novel.
And what's interesting is some genre designations do tell you what systems you're going to be interacting with, like point-and-click adventure game. That's not describing the content of the game at all.
No. Yeah.
Because, you know, it's describing the system. There's no...
There are comedic point-and-click adventures, and there's no space point-and-click adventures, and there are fantasy point-and-click adventures. But when you just say point-and-click adventure, it's not specifying one of them.
There's no congruity.
Yeah.
Let's talk development. Infernax began life as a Flash game in 2011. The original game
good games.
Like all good games, like Super Meat Boy and the others out there.
Binding of Isaac.
Yeah. The original doesn't seem to be available, and I can't tell if it's not available or if it just was never really actually released. I'm leaning toward it just kind of never was released. They were working on it, never happened. After a successful crowdfunding campaign in 2015, the game kind of started to languish in development because it's just Berserk Studio is just 3 people. And then 2 years later in 2017, they updated their Kickstarter campaign and refunded all of their backers' money, but stated that the game was not canceled and that despite the refund, backers would still receive their copies of the game effectively for free. And then they stated that they still intended to finish the game, but they were prioritizing other projects.
I feel like that's the correct way to do that.
Isn't it? I mean, really, that's even above. I would call that above and beyond. I feel like it would be totally acceptable to come out and say, hey, it's still happening, but we don't know when now. We have other stuff on our plate. If you would like a refund, we're happy to offer one. But instead, they just said, here's all your money back, and we're going to make the game. Yeah, in 2019, they updated again, stating that they would be showing the game at PAX West. In 2020, they stated they were entering the final polishing and scope creep stage of the game.
Nice.
You'll notice that's 2 years before release.
Right.
And in late 2021, the arcade crew signed on to publish the game.
Of course it is 2 years before release. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the scope creep stage.
And I found a Reddit AMA where Berserk Studio stated that the morality system in the game, and thus all of the alternate endings in the game, was not present until near the end of development, which is why it took so long. So I'm guessing that by the end of 2019, they're like, all right, let's finish this game up. And then they went, oh, but wait, what if we also added this system?
Right.
And then went back into the tank for 2 more years to push it out. I do think, this is a great example of a game that if they had stuck to their Kickstarter timeline, which they could have done, I mean, obviously they have the ability. Right. They could have easily just said, all right, stick to the Kickstarter timeline, get it put out. Instead, they chose to eject from that timeline entirely, and then they got to spend the time to make the game that they wanted to make. And now I know not everybody's in the position of being able to do that. But it feels like one of those games where them backing away from crowdfunding and the timelines therein made this game what it is, and it would not have existed in the form that it does had they not done that, it seems.
Yeah, if they hadn't added some of that extra stuff, maybe it would have been a much more forgettable thing.
Yeah. Let's talk presentation. This is, again, presented in a side-scrolling faux 8-bit style reminiscent of Faxanadu, Castlevania 2, Zelda 2, Battle of Olympus. It certainly has a lot more fidelity than an 8-bit system could handle, but it's kind of the character sprites and stuff are very reminiscent of 8-bit.
And they definitely use that NES color palette. They use the NES sound chip, or they emulate it anyway. And again, I'm going to say I'm really bored of that. I really want indie game makers, if they're making pixel art, just do something different. Somebody do a Genesis game. Somebody do a TurboGrafx game.
I've seen some, but it's not enough.
But it's very rare. Everybody goes for NES style, which is fine. I love the NES.
Same.
Everybody did the NES, and I just want to see something else.
I will say that here it works well just because we don't see this, whatever genre it is, very often.
Right.
The character sprites themselves look very Faxanadu-esque to me. Mm-hmm. And to accentuate story moments, there are lots of full-screen pixel art scenes to just sort of accentuate story events and player choices and stuff, because it's hard to really convey much emotion with these tiny little simple sprites. So I think it's a nice workaround where you get these cool, the full-screen cool like pixel art murals of what's going on.
Yeah, whenever it shows the full mural style, that feels more like an old PC game to me.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it?
It reminds me of, honestly, some of those old Sierra Adventure games, as far as the art style and art direction there.
Yeah.
Which does stand out in a game that otherwise looks like an NES game. That's certainly not something you would have seen on an NES.
The soundtrack is just awesome.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Tons of range. They do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. It's just really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I also like that, minor spoiler, when you play as certain other characters, you get basically a different soundtrack. Yes. It's really great. There's a ton of really good music in here.
Absolutely.
Story. You play Duke Alcidor, who has returned home to the...
You can name him whatever you want.
Yeah, but it's Alcidor.
Yeah.
You play Duke Alcidor, who returns home to the Duchy of Oopel, only to discover... What?
Oopel?
Oopel?
I was saying... Oopel or Upel?
I was saying Oopel. U-P-E-L.
Yeah.
Oopel. I like Oopel. Oopel's better. It sounds like where Opa Opa's from.
Yeah. I picked up some Oopels on the ground the other day.
Only to discover that it has been overrun by evil forces. He then sets out to put a stop to them, or maybe just help them. If there's a morality system, you can kind of do whatever you want.
My favorite ending, and this is also getting ahead of things, is the one where you just immediately get back on the boat.
Yeah. What is it? The ending of cowardice or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You encounter a dude that jumps off a crucifix and attacks you, and you're just like, nope, I'm out.
Let's talk gameplay. I do kind of want to focus on the standard good ending path with Alcidor, because
before we even get to that, I just wanted to say the game is tough. Expect a proper NES level challenge. I will say it's a bit more forgiving than NES games are, and I think I said this a few weeks ago too.
Yeah.
It's still hard. You're still going to die a lot, but unlike on those NES games, there's frequent save points. You get all your lives back every time you touch a save point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not quite as punishing as Zelda 2 or as Castlevania 2, but it's still really hard.
Yeah. Well, also, one, you can lower the difficulty anytime you get a game over, but
Absolutely.
you can't upgrade it once lowered.
Right.
Choosing casual difficulty does not lock any in-game content away from you whatsoever. Right. Neither does using the cheats, which we'll talk more about later.
Right.
The only thing you can't get on casual is the achievement for completing the game on classic. That's it.
Nice.
So that right there is enough of a release valve, and I believe you can activate cheats at any time. Previously, we thought you had to get to a certain story portion in the game.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I believe there's, without spoiling too much, there's a way to unlock them at any point in time if you're having too much difficulty with the game. Which means that, because when I started, I was like, this is way too hard. And then I played through until I hit the portion where you unlock the cheats, and I turned on a couple of them and just enjoyed the crap out of my time with it.
Oh yeah.
I think I didn't get all the endings. I think I'm missing 2. So I think I beat it like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And I'm missing 2 of the like not as exciting endings. So I just never went back and got them, you know?
Yeah.
I do want to start with the standard good ending path with Alcidor, because this is kind of like if you go in on a blind playthrough, this is probably what you're going to get. Well, I imagine this is what most people would get, the vanilla good ending.
Yeah.
We are going to get to other paths later, but just as the default. So the gameplay, like we said, is very reminiscent of Zelda 2. Alcidor is able to block high and low with his shield, as well as attack high and low with his mace.
Right.
For some bizarre reason, you're armed with a mace in a game that is called Infernax. And I don't know why.
You know, it's just like how Axe Battler has a sword.
It's equally stupid as that, yes. It makes no sense. The game does feature, like we mentioned earlier, a morality system. So every now and then you'll run into an action and you're given 2 options. One is good, one is evil. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, your first playthrough, and even on subsequent playthroughs, depending on the action, it's never really clear which action is good or evil.
Some of them it's clear.
Some of them it is, but other ones, it's not.
There are a few where you're kind of, it feels ambiguous.
Like, and this is spoiling very little. In the first, 20 seconds of the game, you run into a guy who's been obviously, mutated into some monster.
Right.
And you have an option to help or slay him.
Yeah, you can either put him out of his misery or attempt to help him. And
he's very obviously way too far gone.
Yeah.
And so it immediately it's hard to tell what's the good option and what's the bad option.
Yeah.
And so this kind of creates a situation where the first playthrough you're probably going to get one of the standard endings. You know,
and also on that one specifically, the game subverts it later.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a scene later in the game where you can encounter optionally, you have to go out of your way to find it, a caged monster that some people are asking you to kill, and you have the option to kill it or attempt to reason with it. And it's the opposite choice of what that first one was is what is good.
Yep.
So it's they're playing with you.
Yeah, the game seems really aware of how ambiguous it is, and it doesn't seem to want you to have a very clear idea of what's a good act and what's an evil act all of the time.
It almost feels like a parody of morality systems because
I can see
how
that.
ambiguous it is.
Throughout the game, there's a lot of upgrades. You can upgrade your power, health, and mana at any save point up to a maximum of level 7. They're upgraded spending experience points that you get from stuff.
Very Zelda 2-like in that way.
Yeah. You can buy potion flasks throughout the game. You can get health mana or elixir potions. Health potions are always free, but obviously they're the least useful.
Right.
Elixir potions heal both health and mana.
Right.
You can get 1 extra life in each town. So that by the end of the game, you have many extra lives. And weapon and armor upgrades are also found mostly in towns, with the final weapon and final armor upgrades both being hidden away from you. As far as spells, it's, again, very Zelda 2 in that regard. You can purchase spells in town. They include Shield, Time Warp, Familiar, and Teleport.
Among other things.
And then there's a few that are found via story events.
Right.
So there's one, the Veilshire Brigand Quest. If you spare the Brigand, you get a Thorn Shield upgrade. If you kill the Brigand, you get a Shield regen upgrade.
Right.
The Vagabonds Quest, if you force the Vagabonds to leave the camp, you get the heal spell. If you instead drink with them, you get the drain life spell.
Right.
And when you encounter Remus the Skeleton, if you spare him, you get the Fiend spell upgrade for your familiar, and if you kill him, you get the Doves upgrade.
There's also the Holy Power spell.
Yes.
Which becomes the Dark Power if you are going evil.
Yes. My favorite spell was probably the Familiar. It was just so crazy powerful.
So I messed up. I did not use Familiar for hardly at all.
Well, but you have to get through 2 of the bridges.
So here's the thing. One of the bridges I glitched through.
Oh, no.
By trying to do just the forward dash move.
Yes.
And I managed to clip out of the screen, and something loaded wrong and put me on a platform on the other side instead of killing me.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's how you get through these. And and when I got to the other bridge, I was like, why the fuck can't I dash and jump my way through this bridge? And I thought something was broken, and I was so upset. And finally I look online and they're like, well, just summon your familiar. And I'm like, how the fuck was I supposed to know that? And then on my second playthrough, I'm talking to a random townsperson. They're like, familiars like to flip switches.
Yeah,
like,
as soon as I saw the switch,
stupid.
I was like, there's some summon somewhere. I went back to town, bought the familiar spell, and went right back.
No, I jumped over to it in the worst, dumbest possible way.
Yeah, no, the familiar spell and the upgraded Fiend or Dove spell, fantastic spells. Super good.
I would say my favorite spell was Teleport.
Yeah, it's fast travel. It's boring. Like, it's good to have,
so much
but
nicer.
You know. There are 3 towns in the game: Darsov, Arcos, and Kastka. Kastka. And you can lose some of the towns depending on what you do.
Yeah.
If you're taking evil paths, one of the quests at one point is to destroy all the towns.
Yep.
Eventually,
which you can apparently do accidentally.
Yeah. Eventually, if you, I did it accidentally. So if you cast your lightning spell outside in a town, it burns the town down.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I did it on accident, and I was like, Saturn, my good playthrough.
What is the lightning spell replaced with on the bad playthrough? Is it like a fireball spell or something?
Yeah, it's fire something.
Yeah, rain fire or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. There are 5 dungeons in the game, 5 main dungeons. You got Veilshire Keep, which is your pretty standard dungeon. Right. You have Combleton Necropolis. The Veilshire Keep is where you get the Thunderstorm spell. Combleton Necropolis, you get Precision Strike. Stormheim Castle, you get the Sky Call, which is...
That's your up jump.
Yeah, and there is effectively no double... Well, for Alcedor, there's no double jump.
In a standard playthrough.
You get this weird thing where, like, you attack upward and you shoot up into the air, and it's hard to get used to.
Yeah, because it is a forced
tough.
Trajectory, and you don't have much control over where you land. You can control a little bit, but nowhere near as precisely as you would be able to through a double jump.
Yeah. Then you have Kastka Palace, which is where you get the Holy Charge skill.
Which is just forward dash.
Yeah, it's a forward dash. And now this is the fourth palace is the one where you have to make use of your forward dash and your upward dash in tandem to get through the dungeon. Yes. And I had not realized to that point in the game that you could use that the Holy Charge skill propelled you forward through the air without you falling.
Oh.
So this is the point of the game where I ended up turning on cheats because I couldn't figure out how to get through this dungeon because I thought you had to do it with the Sky Call, the upward attack skill, the whole time. And so I ended up just turning on the cheat that gives you infinite jumps.
That'll also get you through there.
Which was nice. What I like about the infinite jumps cheat is you don't have to use it, you know?
No.
It's not like infinite health or whatever. Like I can turn it on and then just not use the second jump unless I'm like, all right, I need to.
Right.
And then you have...
And on subsequent playthroughs, that's a good way to get over to those switches without a familiar.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Then you have Kadjanto Stronghold, which is where you get the Holy Light or Hellfire spell, depending on your morality.
Right.
The standard good ending is you just do mostly good acts. You don't complete enough quests to get the Necronomicon. You go into the big final dungeon. You fight this boss there. You go through to the end, and then Alcidor dies of his wounds and is immortalized in a statue.
It's pretty non-climatic. The final boss is kind of not super exciting or interesting on the standard ending.
Yeah, but it's I would say it's satisfying enough. You know, I didn't beat it on the regular good ending, the what is it, the Path of the Martyr, and think like, oh, that wasn't very fun or that wasn't fulfilling. I was like, that was okay.
I think it's because I did the ultimate good first that
then
the other
endings
totally ruined for me.
Yeah. So that's the standard good ending. We're gonna go over the other endings.
Yeah.
And hidden stuff. So if you don't want that stuff, skip ahead because we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
The ultimate good ending is when you do only good acts and find the Necronomicon.
Right, by finding the cultist headquarters.
Yes. And the ultimate good ending is also where you go through the biggest dungeon in the game.
Yeah, that's about the size of the overworld map.
It's massive. So
it might be bigger.
It's effectively the sixth dungeon.
And it's a maze.
I feel like this one is kind of in air quotes like the real ending.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I'm with you.
Because it's this big giant maze dungeon. It's extremely tough. But you get all the way through and fight the last boss, and it's pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
The Path of the Martyr is the standard good one. The Path of Evil is Ultimate Evil, which is the inverse of the Path of the Righteous, where you do only evil acts and find the Necronomicon. The final boss battle,
all the guards.
Yeah, that was really fun. So in the final like siege on one of the towns, you are fighting against the good guys. I mean, you go all the way through and you murder every one of them all the way down to the end.
Yeah.
And then you get the Necronomicon, you can go through the portal, and then it turns into a shmup.
Yeah.
Out of fucking nowhere. The game's like, all right, last level is now a shmup. You have bat wings, you shoot fireballs, and your what spell is it? The Holy Light spell or whatever? Now it gives you like a triple shot. Yeah. Which was fun as hell. I was like upset that there was not more shmup in the game. I was like, this is great. And you fight a big tentacle monster.
Right. One thing we forgot to mention about the evil mode, once you start to go evil, there's a point where the game basically acknowledges, hey, you're on the evil path now, your outfit changes slightly, and then your mace is swapped out for a sword, and you lose your shield. You can no longer block things for the rest of the game.
The Path of the Wretch is the standard evil, which is everything except for the shmup level. Basically, you don't get the Necronomicon. Path of Submission is if you go ultimate evil, and right at the end, you're helping this guy, Robert, find the Necronomicon to summon the big bad and like become the big evil guy. And at the end, you just go, okay, I'll support you, and you don't kill him and take the book.
Right.
And then it just ends.
Yeah.
Then you have two that are based on going in one alignment and then shifting. Path of Redemption and Path of the Coward are returning to good after turning evil, or the inverse. No, not Path of the Coward. Path of Redemption and...
just Path of Redemption.
Oh, yeah, because there's not one for being evil and turning good.
No, there is one for being evil and turning good. That's Path of Redemption. There is no for being good and turning evil, because that's just the normal evil.
Yes, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yes.
So yeah, then you have the Path of the Coward, which we talked about earlier, which is you just get on the boat at the beginning of the game.
So good.
You have to kill the first enemy.
Right. And then
you go get back on the boat and you talk to the guy and you say something like, yeah, let's just get out of here.
Right.
And then finally you have what I kind of feel like is sort of the extra ending.
Yeah.
Which is the Path of the Future. The Path of the Future requires that you've completed the game at least a couple times, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, you have to have gotten your bestiary up to 90%, which means you have to have done at least the good and evil endings. And I think either ultimate good or ultimate evil or both in order to get up to 90%.
Yeah. And then you talk to Gregor, who's the guy that helps you do the exorcism at that story juncture.
The Da Vinci Code guy.
Yeah. And you travel to the future and you fight Azazel. And when you travel to the future, the game turns into Contra.
Yes.
Like, you literally get a machine gun and it's Contra.
Flips in the air. It's great.
And it's a really good run and gun.
It really is.
And I really wish there was more run and gun.
Yeah, well, there is.
There is, and we'll get to it. But this one's kind of the fun, silly ending. This is the like, hey, this is the payoff ending.
It's like the equivalent of Silent Hill's UFO ending.
Yeah. Let's talk hidden items before we get into hidden playable characters. Obviously, the Necronomicon you don't have to acquire to finish the game, but it is how you get the ultimate versions of different endings. Mm-hmm. The Holy Armor is in a dungeon hidden past Stormheim Castle. It's a little mini dungeon where you get the strongest armor in the game.
Sometimes it's the demon armor if you're going bad.
The Holy Mace is hidden behind Robert in the Necronomicon room. You have to knock down the back wall, and then there's a little mini dungeon there.
Right.
In Guided Strike, you have to kill the monster in Danielle's basement.
I think that one's required, isn't it?
Is it required?
I'm pretty sure it's required in a dungeon somewhere.
That just gives you the charge
the
attack.
Down strike.
Yeah. Not charge. The down strike. I don't believe it is.
Excuse me. I know it's required for some of the endings. Because you have to have it to get to the Necronomicon.
For some, it is required. Yeah, I don't know if it's fully... I got it in every playthrough.
I know it's required to get to the Necronomicon in that area. I don't know if it's required for anything else, but I wanted to say it was required in one of the dungeons somewhere.
Yeah, but basically it's just a boss fight in her basement and you get the Guided Strike.
Right.
Which brings us to the hidden playable characters, which feels like where the game really sort of opens up.
Yeah, feels like where they got silly.
Yeah, and I want to start with the first one last. So let's start with Axe Sador.
Yeah.
Who appropriately has a fucking axe.
What?
He has no shield, and the axe swings in this huge arc.
Yes.
Which is great because it hits enemies over your head, and I think it might hit tall enemies behind you.
Possibly.
But it will not hit enemies if you are too close to them.
Also, if you get the ultimate armor with the Axador, it's an executioner's mask.
Yes. You have Gardakan, who is a wizard. He has no weapon. Instead, attacking creates a fire blast that drains his mana the longer the button is held.
However, his mana constantly recharges, unlike any other character.
The range is upgraded with damage as he gets newer focus rings. Now, this is the only character I didn't beat the game with because I hated him so much.
I enjoyed it, and also I think his name is a reference to a old web video from many years ago of 3 French Canadian guys playing D&D, and one of them is Boba Fett, and another one is Gardakan. And it's hilarious. You have to look it up. I don't remember. I think it was called Pierre and His Friends or something like that.
Yeah.
Go look it up. It's great.
And then finally you have Maxime Gun, which is a fully playable and upgradable version of the Contra character from the Ultimate Good ending. Which it first of all, Maxime Gun makes the game dramatically easier.
I kept pronouncing it Maxime.
Maxim.
I have no idea if that's correct, though.
Could be Maxim.
Yeah.
Maxime feels a little feminine.
It does.
Maybe Maxim. I don't know. I feel like it's supposed to sound like Maximum Gun.
Yeah, that was my thought.
But I couldn't figure out how to make it sound that way.
Maxime.
So, Maxime Gun.
Yeah.
So first of all, you can continue firing while jumping, just like in Contra. The double jump replaces Sky Call, so you get a proper double jump.
Right.
Rocket Charge replaces Holy Charge.
Yes.
Fire in the Hole replaces Guided Strike. So those two are effectively the same, functionally the same.
The upcharge one is weird, though.
You think so?
Yeah, because or not the up, the forward charge, because you had to do the you have to hit both buttons at the same time.
Oh yeah, you
And
do.
that takes a little getting used to.
Bullet upgrades replace weapon upgrades, and your bullets get larger with each upgrade.
Yes.
And then suddenly the Holy Light and Hellfire spells give you a spread shot gun.
Yes.
And what this means is that it turns the whole game into a run and gun.
Yeah.
And not just a run and gun, but a good one.
Yeah.
A good, fun one.
Yeah.
Makes the game way easier.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, and you get new songs, new music for different stuff. It's just great.
And because you had to put in the Konami code to start the game, it starts you with 30 lives.
Yes. Although here's the trick.
Uh-huh.
If you run out of 30 lives, you don't ever get any more.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
So,
but you restore back to 30 whenever you touch a save point, right?
no.
Oh, no? Oh,
you
dang.
get 30. So here's my recommendation for people that are interested and they're like, the game's just way too hard. I don't just want to turn on invincibility because then it just kind of removes all the challenge. My recommendation for someone that's like, I still want a little bit of challenge, but I want it to be pretty easy, is play Maxime Gun, which you just put in the Konami code at the title screen and you unlock the character, period. That's it. And then turn on the cheat for 99 lives.
Yeah.
And that makes the game just easy enough that it's pretty doable. It's still pretty tough.
Yeah.
But it's significantly more doable. That was my most enjoyable playthrough, was Maxime Gun with 99 lives was just a blast.
Yeah.
Which just brings us to the Game Genie.
Yeah, that's the Game Wizard.
The Game Wizard, which pulls up the NES Game Genie screen whenever you find the Game Wizard after you find him after the second dungeon, is that right?
I believe so. You have to finish the second dungeon so that you can get the up jump.
Although I have not tried it on a new save. I think if you go to the accessibility section of the pause screen, it'll let you just unlock cheats there.
Nice.
I think it just lets you punch them in. I'm not sure. And then it's got a ton of cheats. You've got 99 lives, max gold, max XP, chainsaw, infinite mana, invincibility, jetpack, over-the-top gore, paintball mode, and unlimited jumps are all the different codes. Now, the codes the game gives them to you. Every time you get an ending, you get a little fake Nintendo Power magazine.
Oh, so great.
That has some cheats in the back.
Yeah.
But you can
either give you one of the names that you can put in or one of the cheat codes.
And you can just go look them up online and put them in whenever you want. But it does unlock them in game, and man, it makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
Without the cheats and without Maxime Gun, I would not have completed this game. I wouldn't have been able to.
So I got to the final dungeon in Ultimate Good without even unlocking the cheats. Like, I had gone there, I had seen the cheat entry screen, and I was like, I'll come back to this later. And I got to that dungeon, and I was just getting so bored of going back and forth to my save point to heal up in between bosses that I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go see what cheats are available. And I turned on 99 lives just so I could, get through there.
Yeah.
Then after that, I was like, I'm just going to turn on all the cheats for the next playthrough. And so every other playthrough, I just turned on infinite jumps, infinite health, infinite mana, just walked my way through.
The infinite lives cheat is really good because the game, whenever you die, you just start that screen over again.
Right.
So it is a really good way to give you just a little bit of forgiveness so you don't have to worry about going back to a save point.
Also, you get an amusing death screen whenever you die.
Yeah.
You get to see how he got killed by whatever enemy it was or how he drowned or whatever it was. So there are little cute animations for just about every possible way you could die.
We have not really talked much about bosses. Right. And that's mostly because the bosses are kind of the easiest part of the game.
There were a couple that annoyed me, but I don't think there were any that really challenged me. Also, we forgot to talk about my favorite Easter egg.
Oh, go ahead.
Which is the graveyard duck.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, there's also the wall turkey, which I didn't find until you mentioned it to me, and then I went back and got it. But no, there's a cliff that looks just like the cliff from Castlevania 2 where you have to duck and summon the tornado. And if you duck there, a tornado shows up and picks him up and kills him. And there's some text that says, little did he know that if he had ducked at that place at that time, a tornado would come and destroy him.
Yeah.
And then it just takes away one of your lives and starts you over at that screen again.
And there's one spot in the western half of the first dungeon where you can break open a wall and there's a wall turkey there, like in Castlevania. But it's green. Yeah. And if you eat it, you get a full screen image of you vomiting. And then you're covered in vomit for like several minutes after that. And it says something like, I don't know why I thought that was a good idea.
Right. Which is a good point.
This is true. The bosses, their visual design is really interesting.
Yeah, they are a little grotesque.
They are very grotesque.
They're a bit. Some of them are a bit over the top grotesque in my mind.
Yeah. But they're because they're pretty easy. I really don't even. I couldn't even say much about them.
They remind me of, and this is something that most people are not going to get at all, but way back in the early days of the internet, back when Nesticle had first shown up in the mid-90s, the copyright screen on it said it was from Bloodlust Software, which was Sardou's little development team, and they had put out some other games, and they all had art that looked like the bosses from this game. So if you remember those dumb fucking over the top gory games that they made back then, it's that kind of art.
They all look like 8-bit version of Cenobites to me, every one of them.
They're all very phallic.
Yeah.
Many of them are very phallic.
But that's basically it. It's these 5 dungeons, it's some unlockables, it's a morality system, it's a bunch of different upgrades that you can play with. And it really is like in this, I'm just going to call it Castlevania 2 genre. Yeah. It's definitely one of the best games in this genre.
It does feel like a refinement of a lot of those ideas that developers had back in the NES era, taking some more modern sensibilities and more modern game design and adding it to that what it feels like they were reaching for back then.
The biggest complaints I've heard about it is that it's not doing anything astonishingly innovative.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like what its innovation is taking this very old, I would say kind of forgotten genre and giving us, as far as I can find, the first real modern feeling entry in it.
Yeah. And if we're wrong about that, I hope somebody tells us.
Please tell me if there are more Castlevania 2 likes out there. Please send them to us.
Absolutely.
If this is a well-known genre and there's tons of games in it and we just haven't seen them, for the love of God, I looked everywhere. Please send me some. I want to play more. They're fun. I even went back and played Castlevania 2 after this because I was like, I need it. But it's so dated. You know?
It is. It felt a little dated when it came out.
You know, so I would say its innovation is really bringing this genre into the 21st century. Like, yes, it's one of these faux retro games, but it does not feel like one. It feels pretty modern. Doesn't look super modern,
right?
But it feels that way.
Yeah,
you know. As far as reception, it was pretty. It's got a 88% on OpenCritic.
Nice.
People seem to have enjoyed it.
Yeah. I haven't heard anybody really knocking it yet.
Yeah, the worst complaints I've heard is people just being like, "Yeah, it didn't grab me." You know, it didn't grab me the first time either. You know, what it was is this is what happened is I made it to the second dungeon and it was so hard that I was like, "Man, I don't think if this is how hard it is now, and I'm already kind of at my limit, I know I'm not going to be able to finish this game," and I got bummed out.
Yeah,
and that's when you told me that after the second dungeon, you unlock cheats.
Yeah,
so I pushed through the second dungeon, and then I was able to alter the game difficulty completely to my liking.
Yeah.
And then it got, 7 more hours of playtime out of me.
Well, something I think I've learned from this game specifically is, and this is kind of getting into my final thoughts on it, is that I have realized that I don't mind challenge if that challenge is based on platforming or puzzle solving. Yes. I will take any kinds of challenge you throw at me that is those two things. Combat challenges I'm really bad at, and I don't like that. Yeah. But as far as like platforming, as long as there's not a timer or something chasing me, I'm totally okay with it. So I I was perfectly fine playing this game on classic difficulty, and I kept hearing everybody talk about how hard it was, and I just was really enjoying it because the combat is honestly mostly pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, if you're looking for like that Souls-like thing where
You're
the
not
combat's
finding it.
just brutally difficult, no individual enemy is very hard. You know, even the hardest enemy, those little fire sword dudes, not even as hard as a single Dark Nut from Zelda 2.
No, not at all.
Which is kind of what they're emulating.
Right. So because there was no real combat challenge there, like even in the ultimate final dungeon where there were all these giant enemies, they're pretty easy to avoid. They telegraph their attacks pretty hard.
Yeah.
So combat, I didn't really have too much of a problem, which meant that I just got to enjoy some really challenging platforming, which for me was great. I'm all about that.
Oh yeah, I think, and this is getting into final thoughts. I think this is honestly the best Zelda 2, Battle of Olympus, Castlevania 2 like that I've played since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It takes all the issues I have with those games and fixes them. It throws in a ton of cute references, and it tops it off with literally an entire run and gun game hidden inside of itself.
And a mini shmup.
And the cherry on top is just the fact that it has difficulty settings and cheat codes.
Right.
So I feel like if you can get over that initial difficulty hump to get to the accessibility features, and again, I think you can unlock them just in the pause menu before that, then it's a fantastic game. And my only major complaint is that it's not twice as long, honestly.
Yeah, I did immediately find myself just wanting more of it when I finished.
Yeah. I went searching, couldn't find it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I just had a real blast with it. I did not expect to enjoy it anywhere near as much as I did. And even though the art style was at times something that I didn't appreciate, like it was a little too gross out. It almost felt like it was that teenage trying to be edgy kind of.
It gets a little gross sometimes, yeah. Like just like dumb gore and monsters, yeah.
Right. But it's mixed with just enough goofy humor that it completely dulls that for me.
It comes off as more of like an Army of Darkness kind of thing than something edgy.
Right. Yeah. So I just really enjoyed all of my time with it.
And if I can get on my soapbox for a minute and put this out there, cheats are an integral part of classic gaming, whether you used them or not.
Right.
Cheats and glitches were a massive focus in the gaming hobby until publishers killed them.
Yeah, and we were talking in the Discord the other day about that. I don't know if it was a glitch or a leftover testing tool or whatever. But in Mega Man 3, if you push a button on the second controller, it'll just freeze bosses so that you can just take them out, take your time, no reason to learn any strategy or patterns. And that was the only reason I finished the game the first time that I finished it.
Yeah.
And that's not available for Mega Man 11 for some reason. So
I feel like there's this perception that having cheats in a game makes it so that you never get good at the game.
Yeah.
When at least in my experience, the opposite is true.
Yeah, same here.
Having cheats in a game means that I'm going to play significantly more of it, and playing more of it is what makes me good at it.
Right.
You know, and on my NES, I had a Game Genie, which means literally every single game ever released for it had cheats available.
Right.
All of them. Every fucking game.
Whether or not they were useful is another question.
This is true. But it's I feel like in the, you know, we're in that discourse, that Dark Souls discourse moment in gaming right now again, because Elden Ring has come out.
Yep.
And I just want to remind people that being forced through brutally difficult games that have no accessibility and no options is new. This is a new thing in gaming that came about in recent years. Before this, it was not like that.
Yeah, and
don't listen to what people fucking say, because I hear people like, yeah, back in the day you had to be good at games. No, you fucking didn't.
Right.
You did not.
Yeah, people talk about how games were Nintendo hard back then. And yes, there are a lot of games from that era that are just very difficult. And they're also a fraction of the length of games from today.
Yeah.
And often we rented them. We spent, $1 to rent them instead of spending $60 to get 5 minutes into a game and realize we don't have the ability to play it.
Yeah.
So it was very different then.
Like, I don't want to shit on anybody that their gaming experience relies on accessing hard to access parts of games.
Which is
and
fine.
If what you get out of the experience is reaching a part of a game that other people physically cannot get to, and that satisfaction is what you enjoy, that's great. But at least acknowledge that's a new phenomenon.
Right.
Because back in the day, if you had a Game Genie, you could access pretty much every part of any game ever.
Right.
And Game Sharks and whatever. I mean, really, like, cheat devices like that existed all the way until basically always online consoles became a thing, the 360 era.
Even then, we've always had cheats on PC. We've always had trainers or
I still got them.
Recently Cheat Engine.
Yeah.
We've always had that option on PC games, and we had that option on console games for a very long time until achievements, really.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to put it out there that I don't want people to feel like I'm chastising them or whatever. But it's just this.
Just let us cheat, damn it.
This discourse that classic games, they weren't accessible, and let's get back to that. That was not the reality of anyone that lived through that era. Now, maybe people didn't use Game Genies, but that was on them, and they were rare because going by the game's press, cheats were huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of people used them.
Every magazine would print any cheat code that you could find in a game just so that you could cheat. Yeah. Everybody knew the Konami code for Contra. Nobody was playing Contra vanilla and thinking it was a great experience.
Yeah. Everybody also knows that you can go to patreon.com/Retro Warriors if you want to support the show. And we would like you if you did. It'd be
we'll
great.
Like you either way.
Well, okay. Saturn will like you either way. I'm going to stick to my guns, though. We're going to play good cop, bad cop with our Patreon now. That's what we're going to do.
That's how this works now.
We would love to have your support. If you have the means to do so, it does help us out a lot. We'd also love it if you'd rate and review the show on anything. I don't care. Something. Just go somewhere. And
shout it into the void.
Just scream it out your window.
Yeah.
And we want to
podcast is pretty good.
And we want to thank the following patrons for making the show possible, starting with Games Purify Our Souls and leave room for our new development that challenges the mind. They are products of human say wisdom.
I like that you pronounced the garbage characters that came in because of your copy paste.
Yes.
Also, James Myers.
Dave Nelson.
STG the Mr. Guy.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Believe.
Oh. Todd Bass.
It's the character limit. Blackened.
Robert Vieira Jr.
A huge Earthbound fan excited to try it for the first time.
And Brandon Johnson.
Are all the patrons we want to thank for making the show possible. And we want to thank you for hanging out until after the credits.
Yes.
Because Guy's going to be here to yell at us about what kind of sandwich he made.
Question.
What?
Do we have credits?
Yeah, they're credits.
No, we just have a closing theme.
Well, no, we also show our credits during that time. You just can't see them because it's audio. It's audio format.
Okay. Now I understand.
And now I'm gonna record me saying the show's credits and have Pablo put them over the theme.
Produced by Guy, featuring Justin and Saturn, with editing by Pablo.
So hang out after the ending theme. Guy's gonna be here, hanging out with us and doing stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week, and as always, let us cling together. Welcome to the after party. Guy is here. Guy, please say something so that I know that you're here.
No.
Oh, no, there he is. Oh, he's there. I knew
He
it.
almost got you.
I knew
Almost. You started Justining.
Yeah.
There was what is Justining? I started groaning like I was in pain.
Like you're trying to fill space. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what any of that is. I don't know. Guy, what do you got for us?
The verbal hedging. I think. That's,
there you go.
At the end of the show, I thought you were gonna say that you can't see the credits because it's on our YouTube video. I was gonna say, "Fuck you, dude."
Because Guy's gonna put him in the YouTube video with spectacular After Effects. They're gonna blow your socks off.
It's just going to be the words "our credits."
Yeah. It's just gonna be like credits is gonna go real slow, and it's gonna say RW staff, and that's it. The whole fucking thing.
Yeah, but it's gonna take the entire 2 minutes to scroll.
Right. Well, you gotta fill the time.
Right.
That's what you gotta do.
Right.
You got to pad it out.
We should put credits. It'd be fun. It'd be dumb. It'd make no sense because it's all us and Pablo and Andrew, and that's it. That's everyone.
That's
it's
all 5 of us.
All 5 of us.
Yeah.
Then you'd have to credit the original composition of the song.
That's
too.
true. Yeah.
True. We could credit the composer.
Yeah.
We could. What else could we credit? We could credit the website that I made our logo on.
True.
And we could credit the free public domain photo place that we got the background of our logo from.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we could credit
And
Apple
people
Computers
like
for
you.
sending us all these free laptops. That'd be great.
And support from listeners like you.
Listeners like you. We should do a pledge drive episode. Yes. Oh man.
Why would you do that?
That could be fun. You put in dumb shit and make them fun.
Here's the thing. If it's not live, it will just last forever. Because we will never meet our pledge goal because no one will know to pledge at that moment.
How many hours of the pledge drive would it take for me to realize that, though? That's why no one's calling in.
Yeah, we'd be in the middle of hour 8 when you're like, what is happening?
We could stream it to the Discord, and we could do it that way and have a pledge drive where people pledge
Until we get $8.
Yeah, Justin won't stop verbally hedging until we get $8. Make it stop.
God, that would be so annoying after that. I was going to say 10 seconds, maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah. I think you can get to a minute.
Andrew and I made that joke on the most recent Talking Wizards. I was like, how long do you think we could just because we get into the show and we're like, oh yeah, anyway, here's the thing. We're here with the show. I was like, how long do you think we could just say nothing but not stop talking before we ran out of words?
Between the two of you, I think at least 12 minutes.
It'd be a long time. We spend a lot of time just saying a bunch of nothing.
I like that
Really
the
gets
intro
up
has morphed into you being like, I'm Justin, that's Andrew, and Andrew just
Yeah, he just barks every episode, and I have to say it as fast as I can before he barks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he'll pre-bark.
Yeah, he just puts it out there. Yeah. Well, Guy, what do you got for us?
You're saying he's a premature barker?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
We'll
what
use
we're
your
saying.
words.
We'll use your words.
I don't know. I could talk to you about all sorts of things. You talk. I played Infernax for a minute, and I think I got past the first dungeon. And is on my way to the second one, and I just learned a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Wow.
It's what we didn't really talk about it on the show, but what I like about this game is that it never really tips its cards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It never really blatantly is like, hey, there's way more stuff here, and it's way more accessible than it seems.
Right.
It never really.
Unless
does
you go
much.
into the accessibility menu.
True. If you pause it, and it warns you, it says, hey, you're kind of spoiling some stuff. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's. I think a lot of people are going to play it and be like, oh, it's just a Castlevania 2 thing. When it's so much more,
Right.
it just doesn't. It doesn't telegraph it to you.
Right.
You got to find it.
It really does feel like those old 8-bit games where the hidden shit is hidden.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like there's a secrets menu just staring at you the whole time, waiting for you to fill it up with shit.
Yeah, they don't want you to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least they don't make it obvious.
Right.
Yeah, I think I played it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Cool. I'm done.
I'm not trying to sound like I'm making fun of you, but 3 or 4 hours and you had only done one dungeon?
Yeah.
That's
I was playing
a lot,
on
man.
regular mode.
yeah,
I
I
played-
was too, but I think I finished the whole game in like 7 hours.
I was just over 7 hours and I had gotten 5 endings, I think.
Yeah.
Was where I was at. That's where I ended up.
I don't know. I died and lost a lot of experience. I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I played on casual. I don't do that. I don't play that lost experience shit.
I didn't die until I didn't lose all of my lives anyway until the final dungeon.
Oh yeah, we know that you're good at games.
Second dungeon ate my lunch. What sucked was I thought it was the first dungeon, and so I fought all the way there,
Oh, yeah.
and then found out that it was the second. And then getting there, it's like this big spike platforming section, and I saved there, and I was like, "Fuck, I have to go backward through that thing that took me a half an hour."
See, I also play every game like a coward. So any time that I took even one death anywhere in the game, I would go back to a save point.
Yeah.
And since I was playing on casual or on classic rather, there were no save points in dungeons, so I had to leave the dungeon to go save and then restart the entire dungeon every time I died.
You know, the only achievement that you can't get on casual mode is the one for beating it on classic, but you can just turn on cheats and beat it on classic mode and it gives you the achievement for it anyway.
Yeah,
so
I learned
like
that after I'd already.
it's there's no point in not playing casual.
Yeah.
Let's
I
see,
still
and
haven't played
then
casual.
I could talk to you about Trails in the Sky now.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. I am at the first event.
Event.
Oh, okay.
He's still in chapter 1.
I literally did the intro where they're like, hey, let's show
sewer
you all the
dungeon.
systems. So, you know, that was 60, 70 hours. And then and then they're like, hey, these 2 kids are like trapped in a well or something. I don't remember.
Yeah,
and yes, it was the same thing. It's just a well that comes up out of the
Right.
ground.
It's
and
a vertical well.
It's yes.
It's a tall well.
It's an outer well. It's an above ground well. What that is. And I went
Audi.
I went to it's an Audi well. I went to go save them, and like the second enemy just like my encounter just killed my people, and I was like, oh fuck, I guess I gotta grind.
Damn.
And so then I'm grinding. They're like, you need to get there as fast as you can. I'm like, all right, great. I'm gonna go back to the inn and sleep 15 times and upgrade my gear, and then maybe I am enjoying the combat. I do like it a lot. Maybe you guys can explain something to me. In the turn order marker, there are certain bonuses that pop up on certain slots within the turn. And I accidentally skimmed over it in the tutorial, but it was talking about basically jumping your turn order to give those bonuses to different characters.
Right.
How do I do that?
So the most obvious way is going to be an S break, which
Yes, I know that.
Right. If you're above 100 CP, you can just immediately make it your turn now. Other than that, you have to use some ability that causes delay on an enemy, which I don't know if you start with any. If you do, Joshua has one.
Joshua has a black mana crystal, and he's
So
got
it'll be in his crafts, not in his arts. So
he's got okay.
you'll want to
Then
look
I don't
at
think so.
Look through his crafts, because it'll, in the description of each ability, at the very end in parenthesis, it'll say something like, well, if there is delay, it'll be delay plus 10 or something like that.
Okay.
Which just means that the enemy's turn order is decreased by 10 points, which may or may not be enough to let one of your characters go first.
So basically, it has the potential to bump them down one.
Right.
Okay.
And some of those abilities have an AoE, so you can do that to multiple enemies at a time. There's also, in some of the later Trails games, I don't think any of the Sky games have it, is an ability where you can instantly give another character a turn, where you just push them up the turn meter. So
I really like the combat. It feels like kind of a nice middle ground between like Tales and like something more traditional like Final Fantasy.
yeah.
Where there's like a little bit of movement and a little bit of like positioning matters stuff, but it's not like super real time or too chaotic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I'm really into the combat. I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, that was what sold me.
Also really enjoying the turbo button.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to skip the story. But man,
There was a lot of dialogue.
Courtney sat down with me. She was like, what do you want to do tonight? And I was like, you want to watch TV? And she's like, and I was like, well, I was going to start this JRPG. Do you want to like, it's got a bunch of story, you know, it's kind of like reading a book. You can like hang out and we can like experience it together. And she didn't even make it out of the opening section where Estelle is like a little kid.
Yeah.
She was like, why are these characters all so fucking annoying? And I was like, oh, yeah, you never watched anime in like the early 2000s. They don't get better. If at best they get offensive, that's about as good as you're going to get. So, you know, she was like, yeah, I'm done. Bye. She bailed. But yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Interested. Also, it's on PC, so if it gets too crazy, I can cheat.
Yes. It's true.
I consider just giving myself like 3 or 4 levels just to kind of kickstart my journey, you know, just it's because, man, these initial encounters, like it's literally like the first encounters in the game. And it's like, yeah, they're going to whip your ass. And there's 4 of them. And I'm like, well, fuck, man.
I don't know if Guy, if you had the same experience that I did or not, but I feel like each game in the series is hardest at the beginning.
Yeah, I would agree with that so far.
Yeah, and once you've gotten some quartz and some gear and some shit, then you can spec yourself out to the point where you can cheese your way through any fight. But at the beginning, before you have anything, you really have to like pay attention to turn order and constantly heal yourself.
Yeah, it feels very tactical.
Yeah,
which
and it becomes less
like.
so as you can cheese things.
Right. Well, you know that we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how it works.
Yeah, I think
I'm excited for it. You know,
I think I went through the game fighting pretty much every enemy that I happened to come across while doing all of the missions.
Yeah,
and never felt that I had to go back and like grind.
I feel like I've started off like needing to grind. The very first area, most of the enemy encounters are 2 enemies. It's this plant thing that spits seeds and this weird rabbit thing.
Yes,
and you get 2 of each. But every now and then there's an encounter that's both. It's 2 plant things and 2 rabbit things, and they just eat my lunch. And usually what happens is they kill Joshua. He goes down like a sack of shit.
Oh, no.
And then I'm like, oh, fuck. I used my only resurrection ability in the like intro dungeon thing.
Oh, no.
And it was expensive, so I don't have another one of those. So now I'm just kind of fighting a couple of those. I'm grinding until that encounter, that particular one, is not extremely deadly for me. And then I'm like, all right, then I'll move on. Yeah. But I'm going slow. Like it's nice. It's a long game. We can't do an episode on it because we've already done one.
We already did that.
So I'm just going to enjoy it for a long time and just take it easy. And it's fine.
Get another blue quartz and give it to Joshua so that they both have a blue quartz. Because then they'll both have a heal spell and they'll both have more HP.
Oh yeah. Do I have a heal spell on what's her face? Yeah, because the tutorial makes you equip a heal spell for her.
Correct.
Yes.
I just need to get the money to afford opening more slots because I spent my money on new weapons for Joshua.
Well, keep in mind that enemies don't drop money.
What?
Enemies don't drop money.
Where do I get money?
You sell quartz. Or,
you
sell seventh.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, how do I get that stuff?
Well, enemies drop it.
Okay, so why don't they just drop the money?
Because you can turn the sepith into quartz.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I was gonna get angry, but now I'm not. That makes sense. That's good. I like that.
Guy, what have you been playing?
Elden Ring.
Yeah,
You still sticking to that?
I saw that you were playing that on the thing.
Kind of.
See, right now you're playing Madden NFL 22.
Well, not right this exact second.
Well, it says you are.
Well, it's because it's on, because I'm taking a break while we chat.
If you're gonna give him hell for that, saying that he's playing it, then we have to point out all the times that you just leave things running on your PC for like 3 days.
Sometimes I do it just to see if you say anything. I've reached a point where I go get a glass of water and I'm like, yeah, I'll just leave it up. We'll see if Saturn says anything.
I always see it and I'm like, I'm not gonna bug him this time. I'll leave it.
At this point, it's almost entirely performative. Like, it's just me trying to get a rise out of you.
Nice.
But yeah,
almost entirely.
Elden Ring. We might have talked about this on the pre-show last week, but it hooked me.
Yeah.
To a point where I got to the second like major boss. Right? There's like 5
Story boss or whatever.
Yeah, there's like 5 story bosses or whatever, and I got to the second one. She's in some academy, right, of like mages and shit. And I got stuck there for a long time. I had to gain like 10 or 15 levels or some shit. And was like still having problems, and then figured out how multiplayer worked and like beat her the first try.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then I got some momentum going. Like, oh, now I know that anytime I get stuck, I can just summon 2 other people, and it'll get me unstuck.
Yes. That was usually how I got through it. My problem with it was, you want to experience it, and sometimes when you summon someone, they just like basically murderate the boss in 2 seconds, and you feel like you didn't really get to, you know what I mean? You feel like you didn't get to do it.
Yeah,
Which
that's why
normally
I wouldn't do it until I had like fought the boss probably 10 or 20 times, right?
Until you're upset enough that you're like, I don't fucking care if I experience the game. I just need to get through this shit.
I've experienced this fight. I've learned how to do it. It's just I have to do it perfectly or I die.
Yeah.
Then
Can't make my hands do it.
Yeah. So that's that was nice. And then to get there's always an item in Souls games that gives you like a little bit of bonus health or whatever, or bonus to all your stats, right? Mm-hmm. But it goes away when you die. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to collect that in this game, you have to go help somebody in multiplayer. I mean, it drops from it drops from like rats, but they're like, but it's pretty rare. And for a while, I was getting it to where if I had 5 or less, it would spawn probably 20% of the time I would get one. But as soon as I hit 5, it would like drop off to like a 1% drop rate. Mm-hmm. And that was the initial download of the game. And then one day it turned itself off and updated, and the drop rate went down to like a consistent 1%. So I couldn't farm them anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. That was annoying. So then I figured out how to actually farm them, which is go help in multiplayer. If you beat the boss,
right,
then
you get the items.
Yeah.
That's kind of the standard Souls loop that they want you in.
See, you mentioned a few minutes ago that you thought that I'm good at video games. Those are not the video games I'm good at. 'Cause I tried Dark Souls, and I am not good at that. That is not, my patience level does not work for that gameplay style.
Yeah, I hadn't really connected with one until this one, and I think it's excuse me, I think it's something about like the open worldness of it. Like the other Souls games, you're on a track and you can go revisit the parts you've done, but if you discovered everything, you've discovered everything.
Right.
In this, there's just so much to do and discover in every section that even when you get stuck, you can go find things and still level, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's no wobble dogs, but
I was getting wrecked by the most basic enemies in Dark Souls. Like,
they will. They will. Dark Souls the Souls games are they intentionally try to subvert patience. If you're trying to be patient and go slow, they try to they push you. Yeah. So that they don't want you to do that. They're designed such that they try to push you so that you don't do that.
Yeah, I don't want that.
They want you to actively get better and more reactive, not to slowly kind of grind your way through, which you can. It's just, man, this really doesn't want you to.
Yeah, I am not good at that becoming more reactive. I am if I have the ability to do a thing, I can often figure it out pretty quickly and get through it. But I have learned I just don't have the ability when it comes to 3D maneuvering. I'm not good at that.
Yeah, tough stuff.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I guess my last thing about Madden, I downloaded it because it came to Game Pass finally.
Yeah.
The new one. It's a buggy piece of shit. Don't play it.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. An EA game? Buggy?
I know.
Has something happened?
Let me ask you this, guy. You're a fan of sports, and I'm not. So you would know this better than I would. Do you think that maybe Madden 22 would be a better game if it had any competition at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as EA signed an exclusive deal with the NFL, I knew Madden was going to get shitty, like, whatever, 15 years ago.
I don't know how close you were following that back then, because you were probably buying the games every now and then at that point.
Oh, at that point, I was buying them yearly. No, I was heavily invested in this story. Yeah. Go ahead.
So So I was working at a game store at the time, and I remember the Sega game 2K3 had come out.
Yeah.
NFL 2K3, and it was getting better reviews than Madden, and people weren't buying it. And I was trying to sell it to people. I was like, "Hey, this is getting better reviews," and they're like, "But I want Madden. It has Madden on the cover." And then 04 came out, and 2K4 came out, and Sega had acquired the ESPN license and named it ESPN 2K4.
Yeah.
And it got better reviews than Madden. And I was telling people, "Hey, this got better reviews than Madden," and they were like, "But what is it?" I'm like, "Well, it says ESPN." They're like, "Oh, I know ESPN, but it's not Madden. Give me the Madden." And they would buy Madden. And then the next year, when 2K5 came out, it was still ESPN 2K5 and Madden 05. And the ESPN one was only $20, and Madden was $50. And finally, people were like, "I'm going to take that one. It's only $20." And suddenly, they sign an exclusive deal with the NFL, and they get the ESPN license. So are EA just like massive dickheads?
I mean, pretty much. I mean,
Okay.
I say that. I think corporations are amoral, right? They don't have morals one way or the other.
True.
So
they certainly feel immoral, though.
Yeah, right. So from a competition standpoint, it makes sense to stamp out your competitors. I just
right.
I wish that there was something we could have done about that at the time.
Yeah. As a consumer, it feels like you were left with a shit option.
Right.
Yeah.
And recently, I think a couple years ago, the exclusivity ended or didn't get renewed or got renewed in a different way. So that 2K is now allowed to make NFL games, but not NFL simulation games.
That's dumb.
So it's like they could do an arcade football style game.
Blitz.
Yeah, they could do like a new Blitz with the NFL license. But for whatever reason, I guess somebody had an idea that competition's good.
Yeah, that's weird.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I've played a few minutes of this game, like the face of the franchise, where you get to be a player, right? And it just plays you through the thing, and it forces you onto a team. Like you used to be able to choose which team you get to play on, and so it forces you onto a specific team because it's crafting a narrative.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like the first game was my team against my team somehow, at a different team stadium.
Normal. That's how it happens. That's what sports ball's like.
And when I was going through my training stuff, like I entered all of my name and shit, but my character's name was John Madden for some reason.
Perfect. That's what your name is.
So this thing released in August, and they've been doing like monthly updates and stuff, and it's
none of those
awful.
updates were bug patches.
Yeah.
That's the EA way.
Apparently. All right, that's my last thing.
Thank you for listening to the after party. we appreciate Guy so much for being here and stuff.
Yeah.
And
thanks, Guy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Guy.
I like being here.
There was no chance ever in our show that I would have been able to ask that question about the shitty EA NFL thing.
Well,
so I'm glad we had an opportunity. That wouldn't have made sense in context.
Wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much for listening to the after party. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye.